Hello and welcome back to Exothermic Plays Games. I'm Exothermic and the date today is Tuesday, November 5th, 2024. I've been doing a countdown of my favorite video games of all time through each day of the year, and coming in at number 57 is The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. That's right, I'm doing back-to-back Zelda games. Yesterday I ranked Twilight Princess, and somewhere in that video I said that while it's not my favorite Zelda game, it might technically be the best Zelda game. Breath of the Wild is neither, but is really something else entirely. I have a love-hate relationship with this game, but obviously I love it far more than I hate it. It's the first fully open-world game in the franchise, and outside of Ocarina of Time, taking the games to 3D for the first time, I can't think of a title in the series that tried more new things. The new things generally worked really great, but there's some wrinkles too. You start off waking up from a deep slumber where you get a tablet. Zelda gives you an iPad. Well, they call it a Sheikah Slate, but I'm going to call it an iPad, and it does a whole lot of things. Right away after emerging from the cave, you start the game you see that this game is gorgeous. Yes, the graphics are now 7 years old, and the Switch isn't actually that powerful of a console, but I'll be damned if this isn't one of the prettiest games I have ever played, as far as world design goes. You find an old man who fills you in on some stuff. You've been asleep for 100 years, you're stuck on a plateau, civilization is basically over. 100 years ago, you tried to stop Calamity Ganon from taking over Hyrule, and things backfired a whole lot, and now everything's destroyed. But there's still hope to stop him. You're hearing a voice coming from Zelda, somewhere far off. Between her and the old man, you get a sense of some things to do. First, you have to go find this shrine to interact with using your iPad. What happens next is pretty cool and integral to the rest of the game. Giant pillars start emerging from the ground all throughout Hyrule, and for the first time, you really get a sense of the scale of this world. You have this one here, and you're still stuck on the plateau, which that's a problem. You'll get over that. When you do get off the plateau and you go to these other pillars, there is another spot for your iPad up top, and that's how you expand your map and you add more information, and you can kind of survey the area and look for where you want to go next, because things are very open, and I'll get into all of that. The map for Breath of the Wild is insanely large. Perhaps even, maybe, too large. I know this sounds silly, but damn if it just doesn't take a long time to get somewhere sometimes. The trick here is that since you can still see all this world but can't get to it, you gotta figure out how you're gonna get down. The old man promises he'll give you his glider if you gather some treasure for him. There's 4 trials on this plateau, and each one also gives you an ability for your iPad. These abilities have countless uses. The bombs can be used on enemies, either thrown or placed as traps, but they also solve a lot of puzzles and break apart rocks. Sometimes rocks are also enemies, by the way. That's fun. The ice ability can allow you to traverse large spans of water, open doorways, or protect yourself from certain enemy attacks. The magnet is basically just like all puzzles, but damn if it isn't good for puzzles. You can also sometimes find chests underwater and other hidden items using the magnetism ability, and the coolest but kind of trickiest ability is the time stop one. You can freeze one object in place for a while, and in addition to keeping it there, you can attack it to apply continued force all the way to be released at the same time. You can launch boulders, you can Okay, it's mostly launching boulders and other large objects, but that sure is fun to just watch it go. Each of these trials has you solve puzzles utilizing these tools in order to reach a sage at the end who gives you a spirit orb. After you collect all 4 trials orbs, the old man reveals to you that he's magical and to meet him at the Temple of Time. Turn in the spirit orbs by praying to the goddess, and you can choose to increase your health or your energy, which is used for climbing, swimming, running, gliding, lots of stuff. You can do this a whole lot of times, by the way, throughout the game. There's a ton of these trials. I don't know the exact number. I'm gonna guess it's 200. I don't even know if that's remotely close. Might be way higher, might be less. But there's a ton of these trials, and you can just keep turning in 4 orbs at a time to get these upgrades. You're finally going to get the glider from the old man, but not before you learn what's really going on here. He is the spirit of the last ruler of Hyrule, who had died 100 years ago, and he explains that while Link remembers none of this, there was a plan to prepare for Ganon's arrival using technology from a previous civilization that already had used it to defeat him. There was an army of robots to protect the kingdom, and 4 extremely powerful machines called the Divine Beasts. Each beast was to be controlled by a different race of the peoples of the kingdom, and then Zelda and Link would join up and stop Ganon after those machines weakened him. The problem is, Ganon had a ton of time to prepare this go-around, and as soon as he arrived, he cursed all of it and turned it all against Hyrule. The 4 champions in charge of the Divine Beasts were killed, and their machines corrupted. Link was defeated in battle, and only Zelda remained, enacting a last-ditch backup plan to heal Link back up where you woke up at the start of the game, and she's somehow, I don't know, been locked in combat with Calamity Ganon for the last 100 years. Welcome to one of the first things I love and hate about this game. That concept and the Divine Beasts themselves and all the champions are all great. This is the best plot hook we've ever gotten in a Zelda game, and I don't think it's actually remotely close. However, there's a ton of things that don't actually get explained, and they're just waved away without being really any effort of trying to make it make sense. There is some stuff we can fill in the gaps, though. You do gain access to your memories, and you see conversations, and admittedly, I haven't done all of that. Some of them, they're all hidden locations and stuff. But I don't think all of those questions get answered. And if they do, man, I have to work way too hard to answer them. But anyways, after you get the glider from the dead guy, we sail on down to the rest of the world. With the wide world now available to us, we can do whatever we want. There's quests, but they're really just like suggestions or guidelines. Even the idea of freeing the Divine Beasts is a suggestion. You can actually take your very weak Link with no special gear, no real power-ups, just kind of nothing, and go and murderize Calamity Ganon. It would be outrageously difficult even to just get to him, and you pretty much can't let anything hurt you even once. But you can technically do it, and people have. Instead, I suggest you get those power-ups. You solve puzzle shrines, you gain more hearts, you help the people of Hyrule. The game tries to tell you that you're almost out of time, but really, Link spends a whole lot of doing nothing for a long time. At least I did. There's a lot of ways to get stronger. Obviously, more hearts is good, but it's mostly down to gear. Equipment you'll get largely from helping people throughout the world, but sometimes you randomly find them in chests, and they could be in any chest. The contents of the chests throughout the game are randomized, so maybe you find a cool helmet right away. I was very lucky, and in the first hour of the game, I found 2 of the 3 items that increase my climbing speed. That is awesome. I'm so glad I found those. Beyond just getting gear, you can upgrade them if you find a Great Fairy Fountain. There's a massive amount of random items for you to find, and you should hoard them all. Some are useful for cooking, some for making potions, and others just for spending as materials to upgrade your stuff. What's really interesting about the gear, however, is that most of them have special bonus effects too, especially after upgrading, and if you have a matching set, you get an even more special bonus. You might have gear for traveling in cold or hot weather. You might have special gear for swimming or climbing. You might need to enter a city that doesn't allow men, and Link just has to cross-dress like the twink he is. The gear system is great. I love that. The weapon system, however, I kind of hate. All of your weapons break. Every single one. There's a ton of variety, which is great. There's different weapon types, like one-handed swords or clubs you can equip with a shield, or two-handed maces, spears, bigger swords. There's wands, and a personal favorite, boomerangs. Throw it, it hits, and then you have to time pressing catch when it reaches you again. That's all great. The different elemental tributes on weapons are a lot of fun. They have like weaknesses on some enemies. You can use them for environmental effects. So like fire, you can just actually light anything wooden in the whole game pretty much on fire. And then if you have another wooden weapon, you can light that on fire, and you can carry that with you, and that'll keep you warm in colder areas. But it also, if it's not a torch, like let's say it's just a club, it might keep burning and catch you on fire. Then you have to put it out, and then you have to like, oh, well, now I need to use my wand again to light this stick of wood. It's actually, there's a lot of great survival things and flexibility to options. Later on, you'll get gear that does that, but you kind of have to adapt with your environment as you progress through the game, and that's wonderful. But the idea that you have a master sword, you have literally the master sword, that breaks is one of the dumbest things ever. It does recharge after a while. It's the only weapon in the game that doesn't just leave your inventory when it breaks. You do still have it, you just can't use it. But come on, it's the master sword. Anyways, with that complaint aside, I mentioned bonuses from the Divine Beasts. For each Divine Beast, you're going to need to do a whole lot. First, you need to find them. Each one is associated with a problem plaguing one of the races of Hyrule. As an example, let's take Divine Beast Varuta, a big mechanical elephant that's going to flood the whole continent because it's creating water and spouting it everywhere. First, you have to find the Zora City, which is already a bit of a chore because the path into there is crazy long. Second, you need to convince them you're actually Link and you haven't been dead for 100 years and you want to help. One of the great strengths of the storytelling in the game is how much time you spend on not yourself. Most of the story in this game is really not about actually stopping Ganon. You spend a lot of time on the flashbacks as your memory returns over time from major events, but also on understanding the cultural shifts and struggles the peoples of Hyrule have been enduring for the last century and helping to unite a fractured society once more. I actually really like this disparaged, spread out narrative, but I do wish the actual story around the main threat of Ganon was more involved than just, hey, he's over there. He's scary. You better kill him. Anyways, racist Zoras aside, they have a plan for you to break into the elephant and release the spirit of Mipha. She was the Zora champion a century ago and one of Link's closest friends. I mean, really close. Like, she was hoping for some shape of water levels of close. Moving on from that line of thought, each of the Divine Beasts have a puzzle for you to solve in order to even get inside. For this one, you need a ton of lightning arrows and some special gear that makes you better at swimming. You get carried around by basically Fish Hasselhoff while destroying ice chunks being shot at you and swim up some waterfalls to deactivate the outer defenses. Once inside, the puzzles don't stop. Combat in this game, while I did talk about the good sides, is actually not a major focus for the vast majority of the dungeons. You do have some puzzles to solve here, but it's not actually that large in number. There's, I think, 6 in this dungeon, if I remember right, and then there's technically more if you count getting hidden chests. But that being said, I think they're more thoughtful than most other puzzles in the franchise, and I really like them. Like, check out this one where you have to glide around the outer part of the elephant. You have to get up high, then glide down and around to an area you can't see. Maybe there's a better way of doing this, but this is how I did it. And then you can control the trunk of the elephant with something on your map, and that allows you to climb up and then back down and then over to get to a spot for you to tap your iPad to partially deactivate more of the defenses. It's pretty cool. Once you do all of the puzzles, you have a big boss you need to fight, and these are actually some great combat, usually with a sweet gimmick. This one teleports around, keeps you on your toes. You have to dodge its giant spear attacks, while also trying to shoot it in the eye specifically to stun it, and blow up ice chunks it's shooting at you. It's a decent amount of stuff to juggle, but very fun once you get the hang of it. Once you do beat this boss, you get more cutscenes with the Spirit of the Champion, wrapping up their little storyline, and they grant you a boon in the form of a special power. Mipha's is basically an entire extra life for you with a cooldown of some amount of time. Then the elephant locks onto the castle to shoot at Ganon when the time comes. As I mentioned, you don't have to get all 4 divine beasts. You don't even have to get any, but you get a ton of sweet bonuses for doing so. You can get a perfect guard that deflects shots back. You get that extra life I mentioned. You can call down a thunderstorm on everyone around you. You can even create a giant updraft to pseudo-fly for a little bit with your glider. These are all very helpful in the fight against Ganon, both because they're powerful, but because they fit into the strategy. I really like this fight because it's big and epic, and you have the divine beasts and good gear and good food you cooked. When you have all of that, it's actually not hard. The ending of this game, very easy. The challenge comes from the rest of the game. This is just you getting to be awesome, is like, hey, you're here, good job. The first phase has Calamity Ganon re-emerging, and you need to dodge his attacks and wail on him. But first, the divine beasts blow him up a whole lot. After wailing on him, eventually he'll turn immune. There's a handful of ways to get around this, and to be honest, I don't know what the strategy is if you don't have some of these divine beast abilities. I know it's doable, but I don't know how. What I did was either hit him with the giant thunderstorm ability, or deflect a laser back at him. Once you seemingly beat him, he's got a second health bar, but this time you're teleported outside and get the bow of the goddess, which shoots arrows of pure light. Here it's full on Ganon. Big hog monster and all. This part is really easy, but very epic. Ride around on your horse, dodge attacks, sail into the sky, shoot the targets that light up. Do that enough times and you take him out to beat the game. It's a big, epic ending to a big, epic game, and it's very fitting. Overall, the game, to me, feels far more like it's about the journey than the actual destination. Every adventure game should have this, at least to some extent, but I never actually felt motivated to go kill Ganon. It was cool when I eventually did, but that was because I was starting to run out of other stuff to do. There's still more trials for me to get, and I'm sure there's plenty of Koroks, which are these little plant guys. They're really cute. You can find them hidden throughout the whole world, then turn them into another big plant dude that shakes maracas and dances, and somehow that magically allows you to carry more stuff. Look, I've learned to stop asking questions. But really, the world is great, and so are the random people that live inside it. I uncovered a trial by domesticating a deer. I bought a house. I climbed entire mountains, not because I expected to find something, but because it's just there. I do all of that work to get up there, just to glide on down and take in the scenery with the stellar music too. I love the music in this game. I killed random bosses in the world, just not the one I was supposed to. I died. Oh wow, I died so many times, especially to the thunder dragon that just roams the world. Every time I think I can take it on, I'm so wrong. A fun thing about weather in this game is that in lightning storms, if you have metal equipped at all, you become a lightning rod, which is very flavorful and very rough when I forget that I have metal equipped. There's a ton of great little things in the game. I built a town. Link will do anything but save his girlfriend, apparently. But you know what? I sure had a lot of fun the whole time. Unless I climbed to the top of something very tall and ran out of stamina and things to restore stamina just as I was about to get to the top. That's my last love-hate thing. Join me tomorrow as I talk about my 56th favorite game where my princess is on another planet.